This is Retirement Keys with Anthony Congemi from Crescent City Retirement Group. When a part of your financial strategy is out of tune, your long-term goals, your retirement savings, and your legacy can all suffer. With many years of experience in the financial industry, Anthony provides his clients and prospects with the information they need regarding Social Security, retirement income planning, wealth management, and much more. Listen in as we address your financial concerns and provide helpful solutions to put you on the path to achieving your retirement goals. And now, here is Retirement Keys with your host, Anthony Congemi.
All right, so welcome to another episode of Retirement Keys. My name's Anthony Congemi. We're so pleased that you're joining us this morning on another episode of Retirement Keys, where we really do our best to bring you the latest information on retirement planning. We hope the show has been beneficial to you, our loyal listeners. We really appreciate you tuning in. And we have, as we do every week, our fabulous co-host, Mr. Tony Shore, who, frankly, we couldn't do the show without him. Tony does so much behind the scenes to prepare for the show. And as I say, we're just so pleased to have Tony with us. So, Tony, thank you so much for joining us again this morning. How are you doing?
I am doing great, Anthony. I've had just a great week. This past weekend, I went down and saw my parents and just spent some time with them. That was really good. You know, they're not getting any younger, but they're doing good. They're still ornery and, you know, still a little crazy, but that's good. That's why I love them. And so that was.
Well, you know what they say, Tony, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
It sure doesn't. Yes, that's for sure. So if you've met me, you know my parents are going to be crazy, probably. So that's always fun. But you know what? I enjoy the playoffs. The football has been great. Looking forward to seeing what happens in the Super Bowl this year. But it's been some good football to watch, too. But I've been also busy working outside. But how about you? What have you been doing this past week?
Well, about the same, Tony. You know, we had a busy week last week. And then this weekend, my two oldest sons came in from Lafayette to boil some crawfish. You know, this is a way that I get them. You know, I have to bribe them to come in to see me. So this weekend we had the football on Sunday, which I was very pleased, frankly, to see the Bengals win that game. You know, that's an LSU quarterback and an LSU wide receiver that I want to say played together a couple of years ago. And I'm not a big, a football historian. My 15-year-old is, but he told me that the Bengals, and I don't know if this is 100% accurate, but Daniel was telling me that the Bengals, this is like, it's been 30 years, I think, since they've ever even been in a playoff game.
Yep.
And so it was real exciting to see an underdog, and then especially some LSU boys really, they're going into the Super Bowl, man. So that's exciting.
It is exciting. And, a really, really good game. And I was, people didn't give them much of a chance, but I was rooting for them. The Bengals did a great job as underdogs, and they really stuck it to them. And both close games on Sunday. But you had some crawfish, didn't you?
Yeah, we got them. They've been a little scarce with the cold weather, but we did get a nice sack of crawfish. I did a good job with the boil. Next time you're in town, I'm gonna have to. Have a crawfish boil, and but we did good with the crawfish. The kids came in, they brought their little girlfriends in, and we watched the game, ate some crawfish. So we had a nice weekend with that.
That's
but like
really
I say,
good.
I gotta bribe them to get them here.
Oh, I don't think so. Well, kids get on with their own lives, and so it gets harder and harder, doesn't it?
Yeah, but it's good though. Like you say, you want them to, they're independent and to a degree.
Sure.
But.
Yeah, to a degree, right? So speaking of finances and children, finances have been going crazy. The markets in the month of January this year to start the year off have been very volatile so far. January was the most volatile month. I saw the biggest market drop since March of 2000. 2020 when the pandemic hit hard. So I know a lot of people out there, a lot of our listeners have been calling in. What do I do when the market drops like that? What do you tell if you have a client or one of our listeners that calls in and says, hey, I'm concerned about the markets, what would you tell them?
Well, Tony, it goes back to having an investment strategy and an investment income plan. When we think about an investment strategy, we really think of three words: liquidity, income, and growth. And so for our emergency money inside of an investment plan, a retirement plan, we need some liquidity, we need some emergency money. So everybody realizes that, but that money has to be invested differently and carved out differently. The same with the income plan, Tony, and that bucket, if you will, that's your structured income, right? So that's your bond ladder, your Social Security, your pensions, your annuities. This is your structured income. And so we have to make sure we have a solid income plan. We have to make sure we have good liquidity. And then for the growth portion of the investment strategy, it is going to be volatile, Tony, and there will be some volatility and some ups and downs. Obviously, January was with the inflation at nearly 7%, and the Fed's talking about raising interest rates, obviously to stabilize the inflation concerns. I mean, you're going to have this. They've got a couple of levers. The Feds do. To keep things in check, and obviously raising interest rates is one of those levers. And we know there's going to be some interest rate hikes this year, and I think the markets are just getting a little skittish, and rightfully so. And then you do have the issue with supply and demand, and then the virus. I mean, and then the insurgent of that, and so. At the end of the day, Tony, there is some concern of these various factors, and we know that, Tony, and that's nothing new for us. But I will say, though, back to just having a real sensible investment strategy. If you're sitting in retirement and you have your emergency money or your liquid money carved out. And you could just recall back years ago, Tony, kind of Finance 101 was what, 6 months or 9 months of emergency money, it carved out for expenses. And then if you have a structured income plan, Tony, that's not subject to market volatility, to have that base income, then the growth money, Tony, those and whatever it might be, mutual funds or ETFs or blue chip, dividend paying stock portfolios or whatever it might be, when the market is volatile like that, yes, it's going to affect your growth portion of your portfolio or your investment plan, but it shouldn't affect your liquidity and it shouldn't affect your structured income. And so I would say, to our listeners, if you have a balanced and a well thought out retirement plan and investment strategy that incorporates, if you will, liquidity, income, and growth, then these short blips in the market shouldn't be derailing you, Tony.
Right. And so don't let your emotions control your investment and financial decisions. Run everything by a trusted financial services professional, somebody like yourself, Anthony. That's the key here. And even if you feel you have a plan in place, get a second opinion on that plan, or get a plan in place so you don't have to get emotional when the stocks drop. It shouldn't affect your overall investment and retirement plans. I mean, you do want to have somebody working for you to make sure that you have a plan in place that's going to take into account the market will drop. It'll go up and down.
It will, Tony. I mean, for us to sit around and say, for anybody to say, well, hey, you're going to retire at 60 years old and we're going to run a plan, an income plan for 40 years, run the plan to age 100. And in that 40-year period or in a 30-year period in retirement, that there's never going to be, ups and downs in the stock market. I mean, that would be unheard of. I mean,
Right.
obviously,
Right.
there's going to be volatility in the market. There always have been, and there always will be. But if you have a sensible investment strategy that understands that, again, Tony, it's buying opportunities. I mean, we can get into, different portfolios and how the rebalancing can take place in these volatile times to really, again, administratively do some things in these models, whether it be rebalancing and putting more into equities when they're down and pulling out of the bond allocation or whatever it might be. But the growth strategy, Tony, shouldn't be the income plan, and it shouldn't be the liquidity. And I think what happens is when you don't get those simple ideas really inside of your investment strategy. In other words, let's say we had our retirement account and it was all in a growth oriented portfolio, and that was to solve our liquidity needs, that was to solve our income needs and our growth needs, and it was all in one account, growth oriented, higher volatility type of account, and the market tanks. Well, you're right. It is a concern. You're like, well, gee, I mean, we got to take money out. We're retired. We're pulling money out of this portfolio, and all the values are down. So then that means somebody's got to sell, presumably, if there's no cash or limited cash in the portfolio, then we've got to sell assets at the wrong time to generate the cash for the liquidity needs. Well, then you're right. I mean, that would be a problem. But again, if you have a sensible investment strategy that understands we need liquidity, we need a structured income plan, and we need a growth portfolio, and we have to separate those three ideas, Tony, and then they can work harmoniously and work together. And it's kind of like we talked about years ago about fine tuning a race car, and one little thing's out of tune or out of time, and it can affect the whole car. Well, that's true with your investment strategy as well, Tony.
Well, that's a great analogy, and it is true. And so we need to take a quick break here, Anthony. But before we do, how can our listeners get that strategy, that plan in place?
Absolutely. If you're listening and you'd like a second opinion on your investment strategy, give our office a call at 504-828-2171 and just ask for me. I'm happy to speak with you over the phone. We can talk over the phone. We can, we're getting more accustomed to these online Zoom meetings, which I certainly would rather meet in person, but we can meet online. We can meet by phone, or we can certainly meet in one of our offices. Again, that number is 504-828-2171.
All right, sounds great, Anthony. And listeners, stay tuned. We're going to be right back with more of Retirement Keys and our host, Anthony Kangemi, right after this.
You've been listening to our shows and advice on getting your finances in order and creating a retirement income plan that will last. Now is the time to take advantage of our special offer. This is Anthony Kangemi with Crescent City Retirement Group, and we're now offering our 3-step retirement planning process at no cost and a $100 gift card to the restaurant of your choice upon completion of the planning process. Call Crescent City Retirement Group within the next 20 minutes at 504-828-2171. That number again is 504-828-2171.
And welcome back to Retirement Keys. I'm your co-host, Tony Shore, and I'm here with our host, the man with the plan, Anthony Kangemi of Crescent City Retirement Group. And Anthony, great show so far today, talking about, of course, the keys to retirement, and you were talking about the importance of an investment strategy, a little bit about that, especially during times of, turbulent markets, which we're having. So we're going to jump back into that. But first, I know you have some seminars coming up that our listeners could attend.
We do, Tony. So next week on February the 8th and February the 10th, we'll be at Keith Young's Steakhouse in Madisonville across the lake on the North Shore. So as you know, we have an office on the North Shore. We have our main office on Causeway here in Metairie. And also we have an office in Houma, Louisiana for Lafourche and Terrebonne parishes. But yes, next week on February the 8th and the 10th, that's a Tuesday or Thursday night, we're going to be at Keith Young Steakhouse, which incidentally, what a beautiful place. I mean,
Oh, man.
it's amazing, and the staff and the food, and it's really, really nice. So it's always a treat to go to Keith Young's. But then in addition to that, of course, we will be talking about our 5 keys to a stress-free retirement. And so, as you know, Tony, that's really, exactly when people come to our workshop, exactly what they can expect. When they come to our office, they know exactly what to expect. And what that is, those 5 keys are estate and legacy planning, healthcare planning, and investment strategy, which we just touched on in the last segment, income planning, and taxes. And I would say, Tony, those really are the 5 keys in anybody's book. I would think, your estate plan, your tax strategy, your investment strategy, your income plan, your health care planning. Obviously this is a universal for all of us, but having a holistic plan that encompasses those 5 key areas, they really do work together. And again, if all of this is, in a harmonious way, in a harmonious plan, that you have these pieces, complementing each other, you'd be surprised how well things can be put together with just that, idea. And what we find, Tony, a lot of times is, the investment advisor is working with the investments, and an insurance man is working with insurance, and you have a tax folks doing the tax return, and you have a lawyer, putting together an estate plan. But if all of those people are not, working together, at least talking amongst each other, then it's a disconnect, Tony. It's an absolute disconnect. And we see that time and time again. It's a disconnect. And so you really want, a holistic approach to your retirement planning, I would think.
Yeah, exactly, Anthony. And I think that's really important. Now, you talked in our first segment there about the importance of an investment strategy. Let's talk about another one of the keys to retirement planning that people need to be aware of right now.
Well, as I mentioned, estate and legacy planning is a real important key, and that's how things are going to pass on.
Sure.
So having appropriate estate planning documents like a proper will, a living will, power of attorneys, durable power of attorneys to handle the medical and the financial directives. These are all estate planning documents. Beneficiary designations, having those set up properly inside your IRAs, 401ks, annuities, life insurance, anything with a beneficiary form, Tony, it's critical that it's set up properly. We love beneficiary forms because those assets go direct to the designated or named beneficiaries. But again, they have to be set up right. I'll give you a quick example. I have 4 boys, and so they're my contingent beneficiaries. So let's assume they're a little older and they get married, and now I have grandkids, right? So let's say me and my oldest son, and God forbid this never happens, but let's say we're, on a fishing trip together and we're killed in a boating accident and we pass on. The question is, would I want my oldest son, Anthony Jr., would I want his kids, so my grandkids, would I want them to receive their daddy's share? Right?
Right.
It's a legitimate question.
Yeah.
And
sure.
and there's no right or wrong, but if you asked me that question, I would say absolutely. I would want my grandkids to receive their dad's share of whatever was coming to them. Well, if I didn't have that spelled out properly on that beneficiary forms, Tony, I potentially just disinherited those grandkids and left the remaining 3 kids a third, and a third. So I've just disinherited those grandkids. So
Yeah.
that's true on any beneficiary form, Tony, whether it be life insurance, annuities, retirement accounts. So, having an appropriate estate planning, having things set up to where, if God, if something happens to you and you pass away or transition, which is what I like to say.
Yeah.
But
Transition. Yes.
it is a transition.
Sure.
But in the event that takes place, you want to know that your family, your loved ones, your kids, your grandkids, everybody is taken care of properly, but without having a well thought out estate plan. And let me say, Tony, this isn't an expensive proposition. It's just making sure you have all your ducks in a row. And let me tell you, we're big on checklists around here, Tony. So we have a family estate planning checklist. And so in our retirement planning interview or review there, we're just simply asking questions and making sure that we know how they want things to go. And it's critical, Tony, and especially for people that maybe are in second marriages or kids from previous marriages. Very common. No problem. It's just if we don't have things set up properly, Tony, then things may not work the way you wanted them to.
Right. Yeah, and you don't want to leave your loved ones in a bad situation. If you or your spouse pass away, you want to make sure that other spouse and the children or the grandchildren are taken care of, and that's huge, isn't it?
It really is, Tony. So that's why I say, when we talk about, like I say, the workshop we'll be doing at Keith Young's next week, which we want to invite all of our listening audience, please call in or go to crescentcityretirement.com to register and just come on to the workshop. I mean, it's a nice talk. We talk for about an hour and then you have a nice meal and that's it, so it's a good educational workshop. But in that workshop, Tony, the 5 keys to a stress-free retirement, of course, estate and legacy planning is one of those keys. Healthcare, as I mentioned, investment strategy, income planning, and taxes. So we really do touch on those 5 key areas. And again, there's really it's exactly what our focus is on the retirement plans as well, Tony. Just making sure that we've got all our ducks in a row for a Louisiana term here, but making sure that we've got everything in place to where we're not, surprised if the market tanks or if somebody passes away or if there's the loss of income due to the death of a spouse or, all of those things, Tony, should be thought through. And that's what a good retirement plan will do for you.
Well, yeah, for sure. And I think that our listeners out there need to understand that. But that those seminars are great, and all they have to do is sign up. You do have to register for the seminar because there are limited seats. And how do they do that?
Well, that's right, Tony. So they can call the office, 504-828-2171, or just simply go to crescentcityretirement.com. At our website, there's a page that talks about the workshops and seminars coming up. You can just simply register online. So it's very easy to do. I mean, obviously driving, if you're driving and listening to the show, you can't write our number down, but you could certainly remember Crescent City Retirement. Just simply go to crescentcityretirement.com. You can look, you can actually listen to a lot of the other radio shows that we've got out there, our podcasts, a lot of good information on retirement planning at our website. But then again, there's also a page to sign up, Tony, for the workshops.
Sure. And that's great. And that's also where our listeners can go. They can go to the website and go to the radio show page. They can listen to this show or past shows, pick a topic that they might be interested in. There's various topics, and give the show a listen, and they can subscribe to the show as a podcast. It's available on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. We've been talking about the keys to retirement, and it's been a great discussion today. We just have about a minute left. Is there anything else you want to tell the listeners today, Anthony, before we have to go?
Well, I would just say that the financial professional that you're working with on retirement planning should specialize in retirement planning. If you're working with somebody, a financial services professional on college planning, let's say, you should work with somebody that specializes in that area. And I would say the reason for that is because things change, Tony, as you know. Tax laws change, healthcare laws change, investment strategies change. And so what's appropriate for retirement planning may not be appropriate for, let's say, somebody in the accumulation phase that's 30 or 35 or 40 years old and they're accumulating. So that's another specialty. So I would just encourage our listeners, if you're looking to work with a retirement plan and really look at your retirement plan in that holistic view that we've talked about that encompasses all aspects, the estate planning, the healthcare strategy, the income and investment strategy, and the tax strategies, then work with a retirement planning firm. And of course, we, love for you to, call on us, and we can certainly put a plan together so you have something to compare. But interview multiple firms especially if you're just embarking on retirement and you want to interview some firms and see what they have to offer, and ask them just like you should ask us. Let me see a copy of your plan. Let me see what's included. And then that way you can really do your homework and pick a good partner.
Well, yeah, there you go. And doing your homework is important. Working with a fiduciary who's looking out for your best interests, a financial services professional like yourself, is important. But thank you so much, Anthony. We're out of time for today's show. That does it for today's episode of Retirement Keys with our host, Anthony Congemi. Thank you for listening to Retirement Keys. Don't pay too much for taxes or retire without a sound income plan. For more information, please contact Anthony Congemi at Crescent City Retirement Group. Call 504-828-2171 or visit the website at crescentcityretirement.com. All matters discussed during this show are for informational purposes only. Each individual situation may vary, and the opinions expressed here may not apply to everyone. Materials presented are believed to be from reliable sources, and no representations can be made as to its accuracy. All ideas and information should be discussed in detail with one of our qualified representatives prior to implementation. Anthony Congemi and Crescent City Retirement Group are not affiliated with or endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency.